say that every man has got two wolves inside. One of them is a black one, one of them is white. They say the path you walk depends on which one you feed. One of them will heal you, one will make you bleed, one will make you bleed.
Hey, how are we this morning? It's Gabriel, Sacred Awakens. Well, did we wake up bleeding this morning, or did we wake up full of life and love? That is the ultimate question that I ask myself every morning when I awake. And today I've awoken to an infinite me of light and love. And I have an amazing guest joining me this morning that echoes that. And I will get to her in just a second. But I want to let everyone know that I've decided to step into my being and share with the world my practices. So coming in mid-May to We Are One Ranch in Santa Fe, Texas, I am going to be having an event in Houston, Texas, where I am going to bring healing to the world. I'm going to have people there that are going to come in and share gifts of light, love, and infinite wisdom and guidance. So stay tuned for that. I will be announcing it, but I want to get to my guest. This young lady and I have not met. I was new to my spiritual enlightenment, and my wife and I had decided to, bring Sacred Awakens to the forefront, and I was given an opportunity to become a radio host, and this young lady saw my wife and I's post, and she reached out to us about twin flames, and while at the time in reaching out, I thought we were going to go down this magical twin flame journey. We reconnected, and she has allowed me to turn to her for guidance. And so Miss Moon, Cheyenne, hey, welcome. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Gabe. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you in your element for sure. I've been waiting for this for a minute. I'm Cheyenne. My spirit's name is Moonbeam. That's what I named it after I had my spiritual awakening, and a bunch of synchronicities to bring me to that. But I asked Gabe and his wife at the time to be on my podcast to give their perspective of what not just the twin flame journey is, but also just their personal experiences that led them on the path that they are. That didn't happen due to certain circumstances, but Gabe and I ended up connecting on a completely different frequency. And even though we haven't met each other in person, I already feel like, I know him through the depth of the conversations that we have. They're very inspiring for both of us.
Oh, yeah. And what's the name of your podcast? Let's introduce yourself and kind of what all it is that you do, because that tends to get lost in transition. So,
so my show is called Safe Space with Cheyenne Podcast. I started a podcast about 3 years ago. I did have a co-host on the first one, and when we transitioned our partnerships away from each other, I still had a burning desire in my body to continue the work that I started. I started it because I had a spiritual awakening, and I didn't really know where to go get all the information on what was going on with me. As you know, there's so many things come at you at one time, so much information, and you don't really know where to go. So I realized that this wasn't just happening to me. This was happening on a very mass conscious awakening scale. And I thought, if people needed a resource or needed someone to go do the research for them and present it to them, that my podcast would be not only for the collective now that's waking up, for the future generations that will continue to probably go through some of the same steps that I did when I went through my awakening. One of the biggest coin terms is probably dark night of the soul. So that was one of the biggest ones that I studied up on a lot, because that's one of the harder steps to go through, especially when a lot of things in your life fall away and you don't want them to go, you still have to learn to grieve and deal with those emotions and really give yourself up to the faith that everything's going to be okay. So I definitely have like a very long story about my awakening that led me to my purpose of starting my show, but it's a time capsule for future generations. So we do info episodes where we break certain things down for people to drive along and listen to us whenever they want. And also for people that don't have anybody to go to because they are in those like closed circles where you're not supposed to go out and research anything. It could seem like demonic to other people to open yourselves up. So I really just wanted to be a safe space for anybody and be able to have people come on and tell their perspectives. So we're able to learn through everybody's story and then also develop ourselves more through each other.
Okay. And there's a lot to unravel here, but I would like to get in. Where can they find you? Because as you know, I'm in my infancy, and so a lot of this, but right now, because you do dive into a lot that we can get into here, but you've helped me tremendously through Dark Night of the Soul because I didn't know what I was going through. You've helped me find literature. You've guided me. You've listened. You've provided tools. I would love to get into, and I know that there's going to be future shows for this, but we've dove into a lot of sexual energies, of things that are maybe taboo or people don't understand. You are encompassing of a lot. So where can they find the episodes and stuff right now for you? Is it through your podcast?
I am on all major streaming platforms.
There we go. Okay. And
sorry, I'm lagging over here.
Okay, it's okay. And where's the best way to find you? Should they resonate with you? Should they need some sort of guidance?
You can find all of my shows, Spotify, Apple, Google, Alexa, all major streaming places. And then I have a TikTok called Safe Space with Cheyenne, where I'll do little excerpts of books. Sometimes I'll do collective readings and really just get people to think. I think that's one of the biggest ones, is it's just like planting those seeds, like we're more than what we are. So TikTok, and I definitely have a Facebook, Safe Space with Cheyenne, that I connect with people on a lot as well. But if you'd like to listen to the content, it's on all those streaming platforms.
Yeah, and that's great because from the get-go, when you reached out, I felt a safe space. I felt at home, which is hard for people to understand. But when you're going through this awakening that some of us have gone through, you don't feel yourself. You feel alone. You feel like you don't belong. You feel like you're not of this earth. And if you all have tuned in at all, let me just go on. Y'all are listening to Sacred Awakens, and this is a Sacred Awaken that I'm talking about. And, I've told everybody last show that I don't fit in. I feel like I'm a being from a different planet, that I am here to bring light and love, but to do it in a manner that is all encompassing, and it's different. And what I'm bringing may be different than what you're bringing, but it's all resonating the same. It's light, it's love, it's universal. It's the very thing that we have been taught not to have, right? And going into what I have now learned, maybe that we've entered into a toxic, codependent relationship, and we didn't realize it. And as we awaken, we do awaken to the fact that that's what we're in. And in reaching out to someone like yourself, I've found that I'm way more infinite than I even understood, because I believe it's been over a year or longer since you and I first spoke and we started this. As I was in the infancy of this show, and then I ended up having a complete breakthrough, because I don't want to call it a breakdown, in which I entered the dark night of the soul. And that doesn't even do it justice about how dark it actually is, but really it's the light of the soul, because in those dark moments where I was really thinking that I was wanting to die, it was light that got me through. And that light is you. It's the love that I have when I've called you. It's the space that you've given to me without any judgment. It's me knowing that and feeling like I've loved you for eternity. And that's something crazy to wake up to because it's unexplainable. Because I've met so many of my family that I haven't met, but I know. And maybe you can go into that. That's what we're awakening to, is that I'm a healer, I'm a shaman, I'm neurodivergent, I'm something greater than I even thought possible. And so are you. And so are we. And that's what we are ultimately bringing together of, it doesn't matter what we look like. A lot of us are the same beings on the inside because we are of the same mother and father, which is infinite, I believe.
So there are a lot of limiting beliefs that get put on us, and there's so many different terms that you can look up on your own. You can start with inner child trauma, generational trauma, indoctrination systems, just things that have been carried down over and over and over that I don't think it was time to question it. I think it's meant to be lived. What you said earlier about understanding you're in a codependent or toxic relationship, you shouldn't judge yourself too harshly. I'm a really big believer in soul contracts and breaking karma, or creating good karma. The more that you have the awareness that you are here to do good, but you're also here to learn lessons. So if you need to be in that codependent toxic relationship to stand up for yourself or find your voice, find your power in the midst of all of that darkness, that's also a lesson. I think people judge themselves too harshly on putting themselves in those scenarios, but there's just an unconscious traumatic factor in a lot of things like that I know a lot of people find out through shadow work. They really find out how not only getting over the victim mindset of how others have limited you and abused you over time, but even how you have actually limited yourself based on the subconscious programming that you probably received all throughout your life and didn't know. So you're right. You do come into this internal power of yourself, this spark in you. And when you grow from that, that's when those boundaries start coming in. And it does get really painful setting boundaries, because there are people in your life that are used to not you having boundaries, or I'm not going to stand for this, or, we're not really vibing anymore. And that is a really good way of determining if you're raising your frequency and moving in and vibrating to a frequency that the right opportunities and the right people can come around. Manifestation talks a lot about that, but I think if you're one of those people that are overly left-brained and you don't want to understand it because all of this stuff just seems so far out there for you, just start looking up vibration and frequency. Look at sound healing and stuff like that and see how you're able to rid yourself of these toxins in a multitude of ways to raise yourself to a higher knowing and a higher understanding. The time where I wanted you to be on my show, yes, I saw absolute glow, absolute power, absolute like-mindedness, but the fact that our frequencies might not have been in line at the time to have the conversations we get to go now. Perfect example of us being able to rise to the occasion where our opportunities were able to finally meet and collide together. And looking at life like that, instead of looking at it in a victim mindset of why is this happening to me? You have to say, what is this teaching me? What is this doing for me? And if you have horrible subconscious programming of others limiting you, you 100% are limiting yourself, realizing it. So just starting to reprogram your subconscious one day at a time, take day by day, take the lessons, and really focus on your inner work. first, because you can't really go out and help people if you don't know yourself. You don't know your limits. You don't know your boundaries. You're still acting out of a masked persona or a personality, which would be your personal reality around you. So taking that time to go into solitude and cry and find those dark parts, and as like a Buddhist context would say, you purify your disposition. There's a huge movement of ego death in spirituality where, yes, you can have temporary ego deaths where you completely yoke yourself with the divine. And that's beautiful, but the darkness and the light are supposed to unify and work together. And the darkness is inside of you is what you have also deemed unlovable. So you have to go to those dark parts of you and really love yourself.
Yeah, and I think, in talking about this, obviously, we're using words like toxic and dark and so on. But as we sit through this, if you take the words away from it, toxicity doesn't have to be a bad thing. In realizing that you are in a relationship that you, in my situation, let's take it, I've been in that relationship for my entire life. Since I was born, I experienced it in the womb and felt it in the womb. I was born and witnessed it with my mother and father, right? And so a broken love is what I learned. And so in seeking that in relationship after relationship and relationship, and then finding it in a woman at a time where I didn't understand it, in a time where she was in the same place, well, it challenged me because it made me want to be a better person. And at the time when she came in, I was an alcoholic and I had lost a lot. And she looked in my eyes and said, if you're the man that I see in your eyes, then I'll love you. And we were together ever since that night. But coming together in the spiritual awakening, it allows you to go deep enough within that you realize that in looking in the mirror that you love yourself enough to say no. And so when you're standing up for the first time, while you may be standing up to the person that's before you, you're actually standing up to all the men and women that came before them. And so it may feel finite, indefinite, or infinite to them, but you're actually standing up to the world for the first time, and taking back your authority and taking back your grace and your love. And when you are fully able to breathe and love that within and realize that as being born on this planet to our Father, that the Christ consciousness is within, and then that's what awakens. And when you truly love yourself, you're truly able to see yourself within others, and you realize that toxicity or that codependency is a version of you too. And in standing up to it, you're standing up to yourself, and you're giving yourself the guidelines to love yourself again. And that's hard. That's the darkest part of the shadows. That's when people say shadow work, or people, it's realizing that everything that you don't like within anybody you see in your life is something that you need to work on within yourself. And that everything that you love is something that you love about yourself. And then once you start to love, that love becomes something more than you can explain. And so when you start to share it, people start to look at it as something that is frightening, I guess, in a way. And I think in you and I coming together and talking to these links, by setting aside the concepts and the things that we've been conditioned, we can have some very intimate, loving, nurturing relationships that we ultimately wouldn't be able to have through normal constructs. And in doing so, it brings up a certain amount of vulnerability. And as a man, I think that's what we run from the most, is those emotions, the vulnerability of it all. To be able to look at or to be able to basically lay myself in your arms and say, man, Cheyenne, I love you. And I don't really know why, but it's okay. And I'm okay. And you bring such wisdom and insight and allowing me to be vulnerable, but then also allowing me to learn what it's like to be more feminine, or to be more masculine, or to be okay with either way that it is. Because
just balance both of them.
Yeah, because I know, I wish that the world could hear some of the conversations that we've had where I call you and there's days I just really don't know what I am, who I am, or where I come from. And there's some fear in that. It's scary, because in this awakening, you wake up to realize that you're not human. You're something that you can't find a word to explain. You're the very essence of life. You're creating yourself daily in infinite ways, and coming together in union with another person, another soul, another being of light and love is what life is about, I believe. It's why we're here. And sometimes it's in someone you've never met that allows you the vulnerability, that brings you the tools, right? That allows you to glow, because it's who we are.
I really appreciate all the nice things that you're saying for me. There's so many things I want to interject right now. Going back to the love that we're able to offer each other is definitely on the frequency of unconditional love. Being able to, like, if you're going to call me, I am probably going to step outside for a minute away from all my other distractions, and I'm going to put you on speaker, and I'm going to set my phone down next to me on the table, and I'm going to let you go. As long as you want to talk, whatever you want to say, as long as you can get it out, like, I'll be your journal, ride on me, baby. Right?
Yeah.
And then when you take a breath and you finally found some relief in all the things that you're saying to me, then I'm going to go into, okay, well, like, how do you want me to respond in this conversation? Do you want some advice? Am I just listening? Did you want me to just tell you everything's going to be okay and you're not going crazy and this really is just a part of the process? Because even advising someone on their experiences could be different. But leading with unconditional love is one of the best things to do. The only way that you can get through all the conversations that we get into, because we've been taught conditional love, right? And we've been taught that that's the norm. Like, if you do something bad, I'm going to take it away from you. If you do something I don't like, I'm going to hold love from you. And in not only learning, but studying unconditional love from, mystics that have come way before I've even ever read books on them, they all had the unconditional, non-judgmental love in common. So that is all divine, all creators love, right? And that's just what I've learned to extend over and over. And it's not like it comes easy at first because you're so used to having all of your own walls up. You really have to, again, tap back into the faith that you're loved, you're protected. And yes, the label of a healer is very, very popular. I believe we're all healers, but
Agreed.
Understanding that you're a channel and you're a conduit for the divine. So you really have to audit yourself and see, like, where am I clogged up, where the energy's not getting through. But for you, whenever you call me, it's absolute unconditional love and compassion, because there are things that you've experienced where I didn't know who to call with what I was seeing and what was going on. And I had Google and hashtags on Instagram, and I was comparing psychology books next to spiritual books and really just trying to bridge all of that so I could understand what was going on. And it was terrifying. So when people call me and they're like, okay, this is going on, I think I'm going crazy, I'm like, no, you're just waking up. And this is, from my experience, this is where you're at. anything that you're presented with in life or in spirituality, whatever, guru, plant medicine, tarot reader, wherever you want to go with it, you absolutely have to present it back to your intuition and make sure that it fits right with you. And you've done really, really well with that. You've told me about your meditations after we've talked.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I would like to get into this. We have 30 minutes, and there's so much we can talk to, but the hardest part about waking up, I think, has been the fact that when you wake up, people, you can hear thoughts, you can read minds, you can see the future, you start to speak languages that you haven't spoken before, you sign, you know, you have these abilities, clairvoyance, so many things. And so when you're awakening, you do feel lost. You feel abnormal. You feel like you don't fit in. And in finding someone like Cheyenne or someone to where when you call, they get it. Because what I've always heard my whole life, and this is what I hope that we can get into, man, I feel your energy before you even get to the room. Tone down your energy, tone down your energy. If you go back and you look at one of Ryan's first posts, she was like, man, Gabe's got this energy, man. And yeah, I do. But there's no toning it down. I've tried. It's me. And it's love. And what people either love me or hate me. They have my whole life. There's no gray area. There's no, I don't really know what to think about him. It's just when I walk in the room, I admit love. I love everybody. And there's no toning it down at all. It's untonable. And learning to live with that is what I'm learning to navigate. But you don't run from my energy, right? I mean, I've called you in so many different scenarios, but here you are. And, what is that? Why is it that, let's get into that. Why is it that two people, twin flames, soulmate, love, you're here, and then all of a sudden, right? And then it seems like the very person that loved you can't see you for who you are, because the majority of my family and the people that have known me my whole life, as I'm about to vibrate out of the chair, don't know who I am. They don't even see me, but I walk in and people.
Well, they don't know the real you, right?
Right. But
so who you were portraying before you woke up, that's who's stuck in their head because they're comfortable with that version of you. And then you come into who you actually are, who they technically haven't met, even though you look the same and you sound the same and sometimes you tell the same jokes. But when you go around all of the same people after you have truly a spiritual experience, we've all been misguided on what a spiritual experience is, depending on, what religious sect we could have grown up in. Spirituality only looks like this. It doesn't look like this. So, I mean, mass programming is a real thing. It's not something that we really have to get into today, but it's being shown that the more that people elevate and come together and find each other, the biggest thing that's pulling all of us together is understanding we are all from the same source. We're individual expressions. I'm Cheyenne and you're Gabriel, and I choose to look like this and talk like this, and you choose to look like that and talk like that. But at the end of the day, when these incarnations are done, Cheyenne and Gabriel are going to be put to rest in a very beautiful presentation, but our souls are going to go back to the Creator. And then that is where we will join back with our oversoul or our higher self and the one collective being that gave us the free will in the beginning, whatever you choose to call it.
And isn't that what we're doing in meditation and kind of doing now daily, is checking back in with that source and coming back? Right?
Yeah, communing with the divine.
Yeah. And so let's get into that too. You know, when she says, what are we communicating with? I mean, when she says we're a conduit or a channel, I believe everybody is. But some of us have just awoken to it in a different way or fashion. You know, I've all discussed my journey with sacred medicine and how I don't believe that should be the first course, believe me, right? But I did. And for whatever reason, that day I connected straight with source, period, end of story, whatever you want to say. I know people right now that I've talked to, even on the phone today, that are still doing the same medicine that I've done. They've done it thousands of times, and I did it once. When the source gets a hold of you, first of all, there's no turning it off. Trust me. I've tried. And when it does, when source gets into you, it's unexplainable. And you become the true black sheep of the family, the community, of everything, because you just, you know, and it's unexplainable. And you see it in people. You know, I'm about to make Cheyenne very uncomfortable. Like my favorite text, I was like, are you pregnant? I know you're pregnant. Don't lie, you're pregnant. Because she glows, right? She glows. My wife glows. She glows. They glow. I can't explain it. You glow. You radiate. You can see people's aura. You can see their energy. You can see their love when you open your eyes. And that's what a lot of ladies are admitting right now, and men too. And this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say on the show is when you awaken to who you are, when you embrace the femininity inside yourself, men, like when you're able to massage yourself and give yourself love, when you wake up to the fact that getting your nails done, there's nothing wrong with that. When becoming feminine, there's nothing wrong with it. Embrace it. It's part of who you are. And then when you realize that, yeah, you're masculine too, and you create the balance, and you realize that you are love, well, then you open yourself up to all this other love. And the one thing that's been missing throughout history, that's been missing throughout the Bible, through the Quran, through any religion, through anything, is women, fellas. Ladies, women. We're not here to go murder and take things that aren't ours. No, we're not here for that. We've been ordered to do that. But let me ask you, for those of us that have fought many battles, that have, and I'm speaking of the lives, okay, people, maybe our ancestors were murdered, raped, killed, pillaged, created genocide. That doesn't mean that's me. It doesn't mean it was right. Hell, I don't even know that it means it was necessary. But as someone that knows what his forefathers did, where were the women when we were out doing all this? When we were out destroying worlds, destroying villages, religions, whatever it was that we got credit for doing. Where were the women? Where were the matriarchs? Seemed to be vastly missing. Well, I woke up and realized that they belong by our side as our equals. That's love. Because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman. Somewhere, somehow, and I believe, men, ladies, that the one true creator was a woman, and she got lonely and created man. It's my belief. And here we are, running from the one thing that created us, our entire existence, which is love. Women are love. Women are our equal. Because they've been within us. We've been them, they've been us. And maybe it's just time that we all wake up and realize that that's the ultimate act of love, is creation. Being created through the mind first, then through the physical body, and becoming this being here to create, to wake up to the fact that we got to honor everybody, including ourselves, but we got to lift the women up in our lives, because I'm just as capable of making a sandwich or dusting or putting on a nightie to look good for my whatever, man, right? It doesn't matter. The role is that we are all one. And I can't be great without the women that have loved me and that I've loved. And there's honor in standing in that. And there's honor in being able to admit that. And there's honor in realizing that if there was a Jesus, well, there was somebody by Jesus' side. Mary Magdalene. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. If there's ever been a male ruler, there's been a female ruler there too. And that's what we need to embrace, man, is the fact that we don't understand the women in our lives and the women don't understand us. And the only way that we can do that is by coming together, taking down our walls, and then having faith to set in the fact that you're not going to be abandoned, that you're not going to be left, that you're going to be nurtured, and the nature within you will be brought out when you love yourself infinitely. And that's what Cheyenne has done for me. That's what, even as I said here, that's what Ryan has done for me. It's what my mother and my sister, my daughter, and all my generations of all the women in my life, going back to whoever God created first. And I don't want to go fight anymore. I don't want to go out and destroy worlds and do the things that we're called on to do without having my balance, having my family, having the women in my life like Cheyenne, that when I walk into the room, they're not scared of my energy, and they understand that the same energy that I go out and that I'm capable of destroying worlds with, I'm capable of creating worlds with too. And that in letting down the walls and being present in the moment and sitting in my vulnerability, that's where I realize that I don't have to fight. I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do anymore. But I have to go within myself and realize that it's time that we all recognize that the divine feminine is a part of us. And when we learn to embrace it ourselves, we can learn to embrace it throughout humanity. Because I ask you, what would happen if women did rule the world? Would it be a better place? I don't know about you men, but I've always said this, and I can, you know, as many a veteran I've talked to, none of us men want to face a woman. Seriously. I've never, ever in my life wanted to fight a woman. If y'all were the same size, and men, we have no chance, right? And maybe that's because they know we shouldn't fight in the first place. I don't know. But I know that Cheyenne and I don't fight. And I know that she has held me many a times when my emotions come up like this, and not once has she said that I shouldn't have the emotions. And man, that's what we have. We have emotions, and I think emotions build the world because they bring change. Right? I mean, we've all felt love, but I've recently just had my heart broken for the first time in my entire existence that I can remember. And the funny thing is I called Cheyenne today. I was like, you know, I still love. I still love. I still love the very people that break my heart every day, whether it's the government, the VA, world leaders, right? Church, religion, anything. If it's not love, why is it necessary? Maybe to bring about the change in the first place? Maybe that so two people that haven't even met can talk on the radio about love, and I can share my vulnerability and share the fact that my heart's been broken several times. I've been and done things that I didn't want to be. And in waking up to something profound, waking up to the fact that women are beautiful. They're nurturing. They're amazing. And men, we owe the women in our lives a certain amount of respect, a certain amount of authenticity, grace, unconditional, unbridled love, and setting the fact that it's okay to admit that. Because you owe yourself the same thing. And that's what...
There's so much...
Go ahead. That's what
Sorry
Cheyenne...
to cut you off, honey.
No, that's what Cheyenne allows men, women, beings to do. And it comes out. And here it is. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on the tangent, but...
No, you're fine. I've been wanting to compliment you for about 5 minutes on how powerful your vulnerability really is, not just for you and your healing experience, but just as another masculine to look on and see that it's okay to feel all of these emotions and, learn your own emotional code. Nurturance is definitely a characteristic of the feminine, divine feminine, that whole side of your body. It's very powerful, but with learning to outsource it and receive it from another person, from a lot of the men that I've talked to, one of the hardest things that they have come across to relearn is how to nurture themselves and understand that it's okay to have these vulnerable moments and these emotions, and it's okay to cry, because anger and all of those volatile, quote, masculine outbreaks that get characterized on that side, which they happen on both sides, men and women both get mad, right? But maybe instead of like throwing something at the wall and being like, like sit down and cry because you're actually hurt and you're actually grieving underneath. And you have done such a great job with just being extremely vulnerable about that and truly tapping into your feminine. And one of the main things that I tell anybody when we get in the conversation of divine masculine, divine feminine, inner healing inside of you, is when the feminine is safe, she opens up. So if I've been over masculating myself my whole life, what you've actually been doing is protecting your feminine so much that now she needs time to release. She needs time to express herself, and she needs to be heard. Because not only was the feminine side of you hidden, she was suppressed, whether by others or yourself. So you've been able to, fast track into the divine feminine healing and understanding in a really profound way that men don't just take that and like barrel on through it like I've seen you do it the way that you have. You have a masculine warrior spirit, but you also have a very caring nurturer spirit that I think had been portrayed in, the lower octaves of yourself in toxic ways. Like I said, we all have to go through some type of life lesson. But the way that you've been able to continuously go and go and go after all of these, and at the end of the day, you sit down and talk with the mother. And that is a transformational point in any man's journey, because you guys weren't allowed to feel. You had to go and do the providing and all of, again, those masculine traits that society puts on you that you have to be. So for you to meet your feminine in your own body, not just outside of you and really sit with her and tell her that she's safe, I mean, pat yourself on the back, give yourself some grace, go sit in the sun because you are doing the work. You really are. It's inspiring to watch. I'm always glad that you call me and keep me up to date on what's been going on.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, it's, I mean, if you look at me, I look like a biker. I look like a Viking. I look like, listen, my whole life when I walked to the door, I didn't always look like this. I was handsome. I was an athlete. But for whatever reason, the dad would open, no, right? Not him, And yeah, I mean, I look like something that I'm not. I just got this huge heart, but I wrapped it in barbed wire and like a lot of stuff for a long time. And as you're saying, in truly embracing the feminine side of me, man, yeah, it's it's something that is completely not ingrained in you. I mean, you just, when it comes on, fellas, there's no stopping it. And, I don't know if everybody goes through this, but yeah, it's profound. It's just, it's life altering, and it's hard to talk about. And, the one thing about me is I never really have cared what people thought. And I guess that's why I'm here is, whether I have purple hair, pink hair, the only reason I'm not wearing a G-string today, fellas, is because I don't like that thing. It doesn't feel good in your butt crack. It really doesn't. And I've tried it, right? But, there is something to not having bikini line, the lines and stuff, and there's something very encompassing about embracing that, and the hardest thing in this whole thing is taking time to pat yourself on the back, is to say, you know what, I am doing a good job. And that's why I love Cheyenne and the women I have in my life. I mean, fellas, I'm y'all can not do what I do. That's fine. But I'm telling you right now, I talk to beautiful women like Cheyenne all over the world. Right. And I'm loved by them. And it feels amazing. It really does. So when you take the sexual aspect out of it, fellas, and you take your little guy and you put him in the locker and you put it up, that's when you get to know women on a scale,
platonic soulmate scale.
Yeah, it's vaster than the intimacy that I share with Cheyenne and men too, guys, right? Not very many of them, because men are, well, y'all are scared of me. I don't know what the hell. I mean, just own it, right? You want to be me? I don't know what the hell is going on. I own it. I mean, I'm amazing. And you could be amazing too. Just stop looking at me, right? But that's what it feels like. You wake up and you're just like, man, I'm fabulous. I don't know. I'm sorry. And when you start owning that, you start being able to have deep conversation, healing conversations with ladies, and you learn, and you realize that it's just skin, their skin, right? What they are on the inside is truly amazing, fellas. When you stop and you look at that and you honor that. And then when they start to do it to you, then you get the most of compliments. You get compliments that warm your soul, man. They make you want to wake up in the morning. And you're hearing it from people that you've never even met. I mean, if that's not amazing, I don't know what is. And that's why you should probably contact somebody like myself or Cheyenne, or one of the people that are out there not doing the normal things, because we know where love is. It starts here, and then it magnifies. And then we lost her. Uh-oh. There she is. See, the love was so strong that she popped out of the view. But love
just popped out.
Love is
exploded over here.
Exactly, and that's what it's. You walk around and you've got so much love to give, and you start giving it away, and people have just forgot. So it's scary, right? When you just walk up to someone and say, "I love you," and they're like, "Holy crap!" But that's what it takes, because that's what we are. That's what we're here for. That's why you need to reach out to somebody like us and say, how did you get here? Well, let me show you, because your path is yours. It's not mine. I'm just happy. I'm happy because I sat with myself. I cried. I realized that, time and time again, is that love hurts, man. It does. It hurts. At least if it's really love. Because it's the one thing when you truly have it, sometimes you don't appreciate it. And so it leaves, it's taken from you. But let me ask everyone this. Everyone that's feeling like I do. Everyone that's in love with someone that doesn't love them right now. Are they still on this earth? Have they decided to leave? So if you're out there and you have a breath, and somebody out there has a breath, if love exists, surely it'll find a way. But it starts with you. It starts with Cheyenne. It starts with everybody listening to this right now, this Wednesday morning. Look, as a veteran, if I can meet my enemy in a pool in Las Vegas and him look at me and him tell me, aren't you the one that was sent to kill me? And I said, yes. And I said, aren't you the one that was sent to kill me? He said, I am. And he can tell me, I never hated you. And I can say that, and I can love my enemy. Can't you? Can't you embrace your neighbor? Can't you embrace the person that cut you off on the freeway? Can you look deep within your heart and forgive those that have ripped out the very thing that you tried to give them? Can you not look in the mirror and tell the person that you've battled your entire existence that you're enough and I love you? I think you can, because I did. And that led me to Cheyenne. And she does the same thing. And there's a lot of us out there waking up to the fact that, yeah, we're beings of light and love. Yeah, we're not from the earth. We're from galaxies far, far away, similar to Star Wars. And we have these abilities. And one of them is to communicate like this. As you can see the smile on Cheyenne's face, if you're able to tune into our podcast. If you can't, she's beaming, she's glowing. I'm pretty sure she's pregnant. But look, we all glow. We all are here with life's purpose. We are all light. And for those of you that woke up and that are going through this Luciferian, this other dark, yeah, man, you're that too. Because somebody has to welcome the devil to dinner and say, I love you, man. Right? Because if we're light, then we're to embrace all facets of darkness. Because if you look on the spectrum of light, darkness, dark, black is one of the largest things. But maybe it's only represented that way because we haven't opened our eyes to see the full spectrum of love that exists even in darkness. Maybe that's what Cheyenne's here for. Maybe that's what I'm here for, is to talk to all the different beings and listen to all the channels and try to decipher it so that you can all realize that maybe the devil, maybe Satan, maybe whatever is just trying to get us to learn the fact that in the end, it's all us. We have free will, and we can choose to be either glorious, loving, amazing beings, or we can choose something other than that. But the choice is ours within. And that's what Cheyenne's so elegantly allowed me to be able to be. And, a year ago, she looked at Ryan and I glowing, and we're not glowing together anymore. We're glowing independently. Maybe we come together. Maybe we don't. It doesn't mean that love went away. It just means that that's what we're here to search for. And, Cheyenne, we got a minute left. I love you, and I'm honored to have you in my life. I'm honored to be able to be here with you, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me. What do we have to say in 1 minute left to everybody listening?
Well, I just have to tell everybody how much I love you, and I'm so thankful for this connection with you and coming on and being able to speak as vulnerable as we both do. And the beginning of awakening is scary, but I think it also teaches you that you need to have more love for yourself. So if you're limiting yourself, use the affirmation when you wake up. I see with eyes of infinite possibilities. And then if you are out there striving for love on an exterior source, you have to use the affirmation, I am the love I deserve and desire. And you take care of yourself.
We got 30 seconds left.
First.
And I can't think of any better way to wrap it up. I am light. I am love. I'm life. So is she.
I am worthy.
And you are definitely worthy of my love and our love. Hey, y'all find us. We're all one. We love you. Enjoy your drive. Thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you.